And welcome back, everyone, to the Resurrección series. This week's Resurrección request comes to us from Okaha, or Okacha, I can remember, I think it's Okaha, who asked the question, what is the resurrection of Jason Blood, aka Etrigan the Demon? Now, this would fall into a very unique version of a resurrection. Right out the gate, if you don't know who Etrigan the Demon is, essentially Jason Blood is I believe he didn't start as a sorcerer, but he became a sorcerer. In fact, hold on one second. I'm definitely finding that out real quick here. I believe Jason Blood, though, is a sorcerer / wizard from Arthurian time. He knew Merlin, and I believe Merlin was even the one who put the curse on him. Let's see here. So, Jason Blood. Let me just be sure about that real quick. He might have been a knight, too. He expert in the occult, demonology. He walked the earth in the 6th century after the wizard Merlin bound the increasingly uncontrollable threat Etrigan to his mortal soul. So, yeah, I mean, he didn't start out as a wizard. He more or less or a magician. He just grew into it. But, yeah, and he's he has the demon Etrigan bound to his soul. So whenever he speaks the phrase, gone, the form of man, release the demon Etrigan! And then I believe he has a different phrase to return back to Jason, I believe. Etrigan the demon himself is exceptionally powerful, a high-level magic user, demonic power, all that. One second. Yeah. Demonic physiology, magic, very high command of magic. Although individuals like Trigon or something like that make him shit his pants in terms of demons. He is sadly vulnerable to theological weaponry or theological things like crosses, holy ground, holy water, so forth and so on. Other demons that can be summoned that are powerful to defeat him, and other greater magics can beat him as well. Plus, he's weak to flutes. Or not weak to flutes, but weak to high frequency sounds. So a flute could do it. But yeah, this would be a really interesting take on a resurrection. Starting out, his Arrancar form would be that of Jason Blood. It wouldn't be Etrigan. Because he's one of those individuals with a transformed state. So it makes sense that whatever his resurrection transformation is, it looks more like Etrigan, but his Arrancar state looks more like Jason Blood. So with that said, his mask most likely takes the form of some horns on his head, maybe a little bit of like a, not a mask per se, but a headpiece that maybe goes down his sideburns or something like that. Or maybe ears in a mask that kind of are on top of his head. Kind of like a little bit of a demonic crown. It's now, this is the thing. I think you have the perfect release phrase right here with gone, the form of man, release the demon. And then it's, and then that Etrigan is the name of the Zanpakuto. Now, it'd be definitely one of the very few resurrections that has an actual phrase to it. There are a handful of resurrection that have more than just a simple word for their release. Again, kickabout is 2 words. It's not much, but it's 2 words. That's Los Lobos. If I remember correctly, there's like 1 or 2 others that do have more than a single word, but most of them have a single word. This would obviously have to be a rare exception. Or it would. Yeah, I still like the idea of it just being a really unique resurrection, in that sense. Now, his hollow form probably looks like the demon Etrigan just outright. Maybe it's missing mouth, although hollows can have mouths. Its hollow hole, though, would probably be just in the center of its chest, like a lot of hollows are. Now, the actual release, the resurrection, would probably be something more akin to what we see with hollows such as Tesla or maybe Bargon, where in essence there's a lot more organic change than just hollow armor and all that added onto him. So it would be something like that. The hollowified, whatever a hollowified version of Etrigan would look like in Bleach. So kind of like a more demonic, I guess a more hollow version of Etrigan. So more white than yellow. His face though probably does morph like straight out. Like his face just looks completely different. His mask probably now covers maybe the bottom of his jaw, and he now actually has fangs and all that. Something along those lines. And though the reason I think it makes sense that he has a release like that, a more elaborate release for a Resurrection, is due to the fact that Etrigan is powerful. So translate that into Bleach. I can tell you right now, this would be a very powerful Arrancar in the sense that if we're trying to translate Etrigan's abilities into Arrancar, he'd obviously have the basic hollow abilities. He'd have Hyaru, he'd have Bala, Granary Cero, Normal Cero. He'd have all those. But his real ability, I think, would be to imitate and mimic Shinigami Kido. A hollow that can use essentially a hollow variation on Kido. I think he would have to have seen the Kido first to know it, but if he's an exceptionally old hollow who's fought a lot of Shinigami and maybe just hid in the background and watched them fight and just watched them use Kido, then this guy would be insanely powerful. Like, I'm not saying if we did, like, say, an Espada version, like DC version, because there's so many DC characters, we'd have to do like different Espada videos and stuff like that. But I'll let you know this. I'll tell you something. But no, I'll say this: he'd be right up there in the top ranks. He'd be at least in the top 3 Espada, definitely. Because the ability to just mimic the Kido of any Shinigami you see, and then just add that to your roster means that any low-level Kido is easy. You know, Bakugo number 1, Bakugo number 4, Hado number 4. So, I mean, those are simple. I'm sure you would have seen those. I mean, the mid-level Kidos would probably be the majority of what he saw. High-level Kidos, though, like, hypothetically, if he was around during the Hueco Mundo or Fake Karakura Town arc, and he was maybe like, maybe he was, let's just arguably, for the sake of sake, say he was even stronger than Stark. He was the original Hollow who's been masking his presence, waiting for his time to strike. He's probably been sitting around watching all these fights. That would include Byakuya's fight with Zumari, which he used Hado, was it 63, or Ryo Jukoro, and Danku, which means now he's got hollow versions of those. Or if he was hanging around the fake Karakura Town fight, that means not only would he have copied Ikitozo, which is insane, it's a bit of a suicide mood, not quite, but Ikitozo. Not only would he have copied that, he would have copied all the Kido that Aizen used, which isn't a huge amount, but it's still something, because he had those Kido barriers around him. He would have copied all the Kido that all the lieutenants used. He would have copied all the Kido that Hachi used. So that would make him nuts powerful for an Arrancar. And I say for an Arrancar, only because as strong as someone like Stark was or Baragon was, they were still defeated. Hell, Shunsui beat Stark, frankly, on his own. So, yeah. Etrigan would be exceptionally powerful in an ability like that. I had to figure out, like, what would be, when you're talking about, like, magic users, trying to figure out what their hollow/Arrancar, like, release ability is, can be difficult without making it the exact same thing as someone else. But, yeah, I think that works for him, definitely, especially as someone as old and powerful magic-wise as him. But that's my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.